Hello and welcome to John Wayne Lied to You, the storytelling podcast featuring me, your old buddy pal, your pal buddy, your bloody buddy pal pie pantaloons, John Wayne. That's right, I'm here, back again. It's morning time. I'm back on the morning. I'm not gonna need some morning type thing I'm feeling here. Uh, it's a fine day at Wayne Manor this morning, as I am sequestered into the Library of Evil in the East Wing. It's a gray, dreary, raining, coolish day outside today. My favorite kind of weather. Perfect weather for feeling all emo, and brooding and just like, yeah, this is my shit, I like it at least. I'm here. I got a nice cup of steaming cup of Joe, got me a Topo Chico, and of course, pipe of good old Grandpappy's medicine. You know me. We haven't changed much. We always been here. We didn't go anywhere. Anyway, just to update you on how I was last week. I had just gotten back from BizarroCon, and my whole body was out of whack. I was coughing, and I took a step back from really drinking any beer or anything. I had a little whiskey for my throat for some shows, but I've really been keeping on it. I have dipped my toe back into the beer pool, if you will, but very, very slowly and with much moderation. I met a very dear friend of mine the other night out. I haven't seen in a while, only because we're both so incredibly busy. And we met at Brash Brewery. Shouts out to Brash, my favorite brewery, my favorite beer here in Houston. And we had some beers. I think I had about 4 beers, which is cool. And it was fine. I didn't drink to excess on the beers. I didn't go overboard. I took it slow, and that was good. And then also I was talking to my good friend Danny. Danny plays in an amazing fucking band called Downfall 2012 here in Houston. These guys are they're definitely cannot be contained by this city. They've been back and forth across the country many times. They're on the verge of something huge. So please, they play like hard modern rock. They're a 3-piece, but it sounds like you wouldn't even know it. These guys fill the fucking sound up. They're tight as fuck. They can all sing, play their instruments. They put on an amazing live show. So check out Downfall 2012 if you're out there. And they'll probably be coming to your city soon if you don't live in Houston, because they just put a new record that's about to come out. Old Uncle Johnny here got an advance copy. Don't hate on me now. This is one of the few perks that you get when you live in Wayne Manor and operate as such. So he I had some beers with him, talked to him, caught up, and then last night the Monsignor stopped by Wayne Manor here, and we had a little fire going out back. And I had 3 beers last night, but they were, all days, which is a sessionable IPA, which means it's very low in alcohol. And so you can drink a lot of them, but I didn't drink a lot of them. I only drank 3. And I got to tell you, I really notice a difference getting up in the morning, not having drank any beers versus having drank beers. Like, even if would come home and just like play guitar and kill 4 tall boys while I'm just playing guitar, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I notice a marked difference in myself, and I like it. I like to feel good. So this, I'm just still gonna take everything in moderation for now. Keep you updated. But I'm feeling good. It's good. I'm getting back to. I don't know if I want to say baseline, because I don't even know if I have a baseline, but I'm getting back. In the habit, Sister Act 2 style, if you will. I've almost kicked this cough that I've had forever since I got back from Portland. It's pretty much gone. All the wetness of the cough is gone. But it's a dry, kind of lingering little bit of cough. Usually when I'm hitting Grampy's pipe here, but I feel like that's going away. just about, and I've been able to settle back into my routine of things, which is very important to me for at least my mental well being. Um, I'm an impulsive person in decisions that I make. That's for sure. Um, like I will be the person that's like, oh, I got off work early today. I'm gonna stop by here and have a cup of coffee. Oh, there's a half price books across the street. Let me walk over there and look at some books and records. Walk out with a bag of books and be like, oh wait, that's a tattoo parlor over there. Oh, let me stop and get a tattoo. Like that's the kind of shit that I do impulsively, you know. But otherwise, I do have a pretty regimented routine that I am very disciplined in and follow. And when I get thrown off of that routine for, you know, several days in a row, it really does fuck with me, and it's hard for me to like. I have to almost overcompensate to right the ship. I feel, in a sense. So ship has been righted. I'm back on track. You know, I'm getting up at 3:30 every morning, writing, going to work. I've been going to work early every day this week to try to get some extra hours and make up time and all that bullshit. But just getting through that and using every opportunity along the way to work on my stuff. I'm revising a new book that I can tell you about all that good stuff later. And I'm just working on stuff constantly, as you know. So um, there you have it. Uh, I'm back. I'm back on track. I feel good. I feel great. Um, Speaking of feeling great, I want to, I guess, drop this up top of the show instead of at the end. I know I kind of usually talk about shows at the end, but this show coming up is pretty awesome, and I want to get it out there. I want to try to get as many of my Houston peeps out, if possible. December 21st. It's a Thursday. I believe it starts at 6:30. It does start at 6:30, which means it probably starts at 7. So it's that it's a reading that I'll be doing with some other authors at Under the Radar Brewery, a relatively newer brewery here in Houston. I haven't been yet, so I'm looking forward to going, and it's going to be rad. This is me, um, my main man, brother, badass motherfucker, ride or die, homie till the end, Kelby Losack, coming up. Uh, he'll be there reading with me, and some, I think, like three other authors coming down from Austin who I don't have their names in front of me right now, which I'm sorry, but I know I met them all last time I was up there at Lucas Mangum's party, reading and party. Shouts out Lucas Mangum. Uh, he's also awesome writer here in Texas, up in Austin, and he'll be coming down soon, I'm sure, or I'll be going back up there to visit him, and I will always certainly let you know about that. But December 21st, 6:30 p.m. Under the Radar Brewery. This is the first in a series. This is going to be a monthly series that this guy is trying to put together for the arts, and particularly for writers, um, poets like that, like in the literary field, to come and do readings and kind of get something started with that side of things here in Houston. So it's a monthly show, and I think we should support it. Come out, check it out. It's gonna be rad because you know that. We come completely correct with all these performances, and it will be a blast. Um, yeah. So other than that, everything is smooth and nice back here in H Town. So I guess I want to we'll just jump right into our tarot reading for this week. Now, this one, very interesting cards today. I almost feel like you could take these three cards that I picked and put them in a cellophane package, tape them up, and just write John Wayne on it, and give it to me, because it's like pretty. At least I'm getting something out of this, pretty specific to what I've been thinking about lately. And let me also say, for people who maybe you haven't listened to a lot of the episodes, or you're just listening to the episodes, or whatever, I do these three card tarot readings for myself before each show, and then we talk about them. But it's not I'm not sitting here saying that I believe that these cards are telling me the future or telling me something about whatever. They just represent certain things, right? And all it does for me is to look at these and it provokes thought uh, in something that hits home with me as I look at that, and it just lets me reflect and uh, think about those things in my life a little bit. So that's why I do this. Yes, I do love the occult. I do very much study that, and I'm interested in it. Yes, I love Satan. Of course, he's not real, but neither is God. So everyone, calm down. Um, but it's fun. So that's why I do this. So please don't write me off or think that, oh, this guy's a fucking idiot. Well, you might think that already anyway, but that's why I do this. So this week was pretty interesting. Um, excuse me. See, cough's almost gone, guys. That one sounded okay. Okay, so this week the first card that I drew was the Knight of Swords. Now, this is a card. It's got a young man with his armor and his cape. He's on a white horse. They're barreling through the field. He's got his sword up, and he's charging into battle like headlong. He's ready to fuck some shit up, and nothing's really stopping him. So the Knight of Swords represents you being obsessed with manifesting an idea that you're pursuing. Okay, that sounds a little bit on the nose for me. I become very obsessed with things I'm trying to pursue. Uh, Particularly right now, and ongoing for the last few years, my writing career. Uh, that kind of sums it up right there. However, uh, by doing this, we fail to see the difficulties or consequences of our action. So I completely understand that too. When you're pursuing something, and it's especially if there's any element of dog eat dog in it, you kind of have to go hard sometimes, and you have to just go. You cannot stop. And I can relate to knowing that sometimes you shut everything else out and you don't realize how that's affecting the people around you. All you see is you, and your goal, and how close you are, how far you are, the things you need to do, and you kind of lose the rest of the world around you. And that's something that makes me kind of think about that. Um, like I said, the guy on the card, he represents a powerful figure full of energy that must be balanced with a realization of responsibility and compassion. That's the part I'm going to be thinking about. I need to maybe balance a little bit more um, with the rest of the things in my life. I definitely need to achieve a better balance than I have been. I think that would help me out a lot. Uh, it shows great ambition and determination, but we're blind to the consequences of actions. Um, Good. Okay, this is also very interesting. Good at communicating with like-minded individuals. So, like recently, I was just at Bizarro Con. That's my jam of like-minded people. But also here in Houston, I have a lot of friends who, in our circle, were like-minded as far as the arts or literature or performing goes. So it says that you surround yourself with those people, and you are good at motivating each other. That kind of hits home a little bit because I've recently had some discussions with friends and people about motivations, and um, how we are motivated to do things. And I've realized that all I can really do is relate to people what motivates me. I can in no way expect for that to be what motivates another individual. And that's something I had to find that out kind of the hard way a couple of times. Um, just out of even trying to be helpful, it's not. It can be not helpful if the person's not receptive to that motivation. So I could see, like, when you're with people in your field or your like-minded people, you may be able to relate on the motivations. But for me, it makes me think about like, you know, tell people what works for me and let it be that. Don't try to say, you know what you need to do, because that's not gonna be good for anybody. So that was a good one. I like that. And the next card I drew, the Hermit. Again, this stuff is like it's kind of spot on. It represents wisdom, achievement, growth, and accomplishment. So I view that as the successes that I have had on this journey of being a writer. You know, the books that I have had published, the stories that I have had published. Just check me out. BizarroCentral.com Flash Fiction Friday. I just had a piece drop there, flash fiction piece on this past Friday. So check it out at Bizarro Central. That's a little plug in there. This tarot reading brought to you by BizarroCentral.com. No, so but that's just an example. You know, these things I keep hitting these things that kind of tell me like, yeah, you're on the right track, dude. You're being successful. You're achieving a success. You know, and it says you're ready to share what you've learned. Now, that kind of goes back to the motivation thing and the like-minded people that I just talked about. I I am always ready to share how I got to a certain place, but all I can do is just say what worked for me and what I did. There's no magic formula. There's no spell or pill you can take to get from A to B, but skip all the shit in between. Um, but I feel like if you feel like you've achieved, I'd like this is saying I've achieved something. I'm ready to share if people want to hear it. Um, it says that the hermit is someone who uses this isolation as a tool to reach higher levels of awareness. His secrets are not for everyone, but for those seeking them and willing to climb to the heights of wisdom. Like I said, or just a minute ago, it's not. I have something to share, but if you want, only if you want to hear what I have to say. I guess that's the way I'm taking it. Um, and as far as like the isolation part, I'm a very extroverted person. I love to talk to people. I love to hang out with my friends. I have no problem going. I love to go to parties, events, whatever. I like being around people, right? I have no problem with that. But I love to be by myself. There's something to be said about that. And I do get alone time, at least a little bit every day, and it's kind of crucial to me, I feel. And so as far as like it's saying like your isolation, helps you attain higher levels of awareness. In that I take it from I sit here, I write, I read, and I just think about things. I take notes. I do ideas. That's the reflection that I've been doing. So, um, okay. And lastly, on this one, be content with being alone, which I am. Um, and only associate with those on your level. This is the goes back to the like-minded thing, and what that means is like I don't take that as if you're not into what I'm into, that we're not on the same level, therefore I won't associate with you. No, 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 it's not that. It's a level of like I look at it as you got to cut the fat out of your life as far as people go. There's certain people that we all know that you get around them and they're gloom and doom. Nothing is right. They could have something good happen in their life and they still complain, or they're just a toxic person. They maybe drag you down the wrong path, or are always kind of nothing goes right when you're around them. That's the kind of people you don't want to necessarily be around. I feel, especially if you're driving towards your goal, they will only be like stumbling blocks for you. So that's what I get out of that. Then we round out the reading today with our third card, the Ten of Pentacles. Now, interesting about this is one I kind of think is like more of a future, like this potential future, thing for me, because it represents a culmination of final fulfillment. Um, so the picture on the card is basically like an older man. He's got like his family around him and his dogs, and they're all having a good time. And there's you know just everything they have everything that they need. And he's kind of like showing he's worked his whole life. Now this is the culmination of his fulfillment, is being able to provide for his family and have that time to love, take that love in, and nobody has to worry anymore, basically. It represents financial security, acceptance, and comfort, which goes along with what I just said. Despite setbacks and challenges, you reach completion and accomplishment. So that's kind of like, despite all the that tells me, like, despite all the bullshit, and hard times, slow times, whatever that you have to endure on the journey that you're on. My particular one being, this writing path that I'm on, being a writer. There's all that, but it's saying, like, I take from this, you stick with it, you get through the challenges, you will reach that completion and accomplishment. Things will come together, and you will share your success with others. Boom. That's 1, 2, 3 cards in a row that talk about sharing those things. From this one, I take, when you share your success with others, means to me, like, you bring everyone else up around you. You because you're successful, you therefore can help the people around you, your like-minded individuals that you've been spending time with and sharing, ideas with. You help bring everybody else up through what you're doing. I can't remember if I've said this on the podcast before, but it doesn't matter. You could say it. I can't say it enough. The first Bizarro Con I went to, Rose used a phrase that I guess they had been using before that, but it's, when the tide comes in, all the ships go up. When the tide comes in, all the ships go up, and that's what I think of when I look at this card. Share your success with others. We got to bring each other up. We don't need to work against each other. You don't need to have, negative feelings or resentment towards, your brother in arms, your comrade, their success. We need to be happy for each other in those successes and celebrate it, and know, when it comes around for you, it's going to be your time, and you want that same kind of support. You don't want people being like, oh, well, you don't deserve it or whatever, So that makes me think of that. Very important. Also represents wealth and material abundance, free of money troubles. Well, I sure like that. I can't say that that's the point in my life that I am at now, but I certainly do strive to not have to worry about money. That is awesome. And you know what? I think that'll happen. One day. I just got to keep staying the course and not give up. That's very important, to not give up. So, and always try to get better. I'm always trying to get better. That's what I feel like. Especially for Bizarro Con, you come up against these people, not come up against, I mean, you rubbing elbows with these people that, are so good, you hold in such high regard. And that is a huge motivator for me. So I just always want to get better. So anyway, that was a good reading. Like I said, I really liked these cards this week. So maybe that can help you, anybody out there, kind of think about these ideas, or if you're experiencing similar things in your life. And maybe we'll all move on to a final fulfillment and no money troubles together. Won't that be nice, huh? Well, speaking of money, we'll just mosey right on into our story this week. This story happens to deal with an encounter that I had with a weed dealer I had at one point, whom I never actually interacted with or seen or talked to. We only operated through texts. And one day there was an incident, and we were thrust into each other's lives. All around some money. This week's story I call Funny Money. So, we all know, if you're listeners of this podcast or know me in some capacity, we all know that John Wayne here really appreciates his marijuana, his weed, his ganja, his grandpappy's medicine. And sometimes it's throughout my life and experience. Sometimes it's harder to get than other times. Sometimes it seems like it's fallen out of the trees for you. But it kind of waxes and wanes as far as availability goes. Not so much now, I would say, but a few years back, certainly. With now with all the states that are, legalizing, more recreational being legalized, more decriminalization going on in different states and cities. It's become a lot easier to find, and it's driven the prices down quite a bit, which is great. We all win, I guess. At least I do. But a few years ago, before it was as easy as it is now, I did have a pretty sweet situation going on with how I got my weed. I was working at Starbucks at the time. I don't give a fuck about saying any of this shit. Come get me, buddies. I was working at Starbucks. I got introduced to, I got hooked up with this guy. And I can't say I got introduced to him because I did not meet this person. There was no meeting. There was no, hey, how you doing? There was no sizing each other up. There was just somebody saying, hey, I vouch for this guy. Instead of you going through me, I'm going to put you, in touch with the main dude, which is usually what happens when you're buying weed. You find a friend who has a guy that gets it. You start going through them. You go through them enough times, they kind of hand you over to the main dude because they know you're cool now and you're going to keep buying. So anyway, I don't have to explain business to you people. You know how it works. The cool thing about this, the way this guy operated was, first of all, weekly he would text you a menu, right, of everything that he had for that week, which was cool. That's akin to what you have now when you walk into a dispensary in places like Oregon or Colorado. They give you a menu, like you have a menu to look at. He didn't have an extensive menu like they had, but he'd have 3 or 4 different strains and what was going on, and you basically, if you needed weed, then you kind of order off the menu, let me have the value meal, supersize me, bitch. But so either you did that or you just texted him. I would go to work, and when I needed weed, I'd wait till about 9 or 10 because I super ass early, and I'd send a text to the dude, tell him what I needed. He would reply, about what time he would have that. And the way this all worked was I would be parked in the parking lot of, the Starbucks and the shopping center and all that shit where I worked. I would put the cash in my console of my car with the lid closed over top of it so you can just look in and see. And he would text me when he was on the way, and then he'd text me when he was in the parking lot. And I would then take my keys and I could hit my, remote unlock from the store, from being inside the store, and it would unlock my car. He would be parked somewhere right next to the car, get out, jump into my car, take the money, leave the weed in the console, jump in his car and leave. That was it. And then he'd just text me done, and I would hit the lock the doors, and there you go. Bob's your uncle, Edith is your aunt. I don't know if that's how that goes, but you had your weed. No muss, no fuss. Very, very easy transaction. No problems at all. And I didn't have any problems with him. The one problem, it wasn't a problem, just a sign of the times. His weed was good. It was definitely good, but it was pretty pricey. It was pricey for the time, I feel, even probably by at least $20 higher for then. But it was pretty convenient, and it was high grade weed, and I didn't mind at the time. So what a time. So like I said, I don't meet this guy. I don't talk to him on the phone. I don't go out there and shake his hand and give him a hug or say, "What's up, bud?" There's no relationship like that. The relationship is business, and that's it. And we don't need to. If we don't need to see each other, why start? Why start, bitch? What are you gonna do? Come over and have dinner with me on Sunday with my family? No. You're selling me weed. We don't need to know each other. That's it. So one day, it was a Monday. I remember this because over the weekend, Chris Jett and I, as John Wayne is Dead, we played a cover gig at this fucking weird. I think it was a Sherlock's pub, maybe, which is kind of a chain in Rice Village here in Houston. And if you don't know where that is, it's kind of like a rich white people area. It's got a lot of like just upscale bars and restaurants and shops in like this kind of maybe 4 or 5 block radius, I think, or maybe bigger. I don't know. I don't like to go to Rice Village. I don't ever go there. I was there because I was being paid that night. So we were paid, and one of the $100 bills that we were paid in was one of the old school ones, right? Like I haven't seen those in a while. Now we have the ones with the big fucking head on it, but this was an old school one with the small, stuff on it. It was kind of cool, but we got paid in that. So I remember this distinctly that we played that show and got that money because I used my half of the money from that show to I was using it to buy weed on Monday. So I did this the whole thing. I had uh I forget how much I was buying at the time, but I want to say that whatever the total was, maybe it was like 160 or something like that. And I used that old school $100 bill and 320s, had them in my car. We do the whole shabil. Text him, he tells me he's there. Unlock the car, he drops the shit off, and that's it. This particular day, it was on Mondays at Starbucks. If you're the manager, which I was, you just do like admin work. So I would always come in by 6 on those days to do my admin, or 7, and I could do it really quick. And otherwise, like you didn't have to necessarily stay for 8 fucking hours because most of the time you'd be doing nothing. So I had my shit all set up, and I was leaving a little early that day, and he had dropped off the weed to me right as I was gonna leave. So it's just perfect. So he drops it off. He takes off. I get in my car, check it out. We're all happy. I drive down the road to go home, but I happened to, I forget what I thought of, but I needed some kind of book, or I was looking for a certain book, and I passed a Half Price Books on the way home. So I was like, let me jump in here real quick. I'm gonna check this book out, see if they have this before I go home today. So I'm in there and I'm looking, and you know how like when you have your phone in your pocket, or maybe ladies in your purse or a backpack, and you have it on vibrate, it can go off a few times before you realize that it's gone off, especially if you're getting a text. Well, if you haven't, I've had that happen. So I'm looking at books, and I feel my phone vibrate, and I pull it out, and it shows this is the fourth text that's come in. I guess I've missed the first few, and they're all from the guy I buy weed from. I'm like, that's weird. I wonder why he's texting me. So I open up the text, and it starts off with, "Hey, bro, that 100 you gave me was counterfeit. Call me now." And then another text was the text after that was like, uh, you need to fix this right now. Call me." And then the next one was, "You don't want to ignore me, bro. I'm not the kind of person you want to get on their bad side." So I'm looking at this. I've never met this guy. I don't know who he is, or what he's capable of. But I'm like, fuck. So I called him. Never called this guy before. Never talked to him. Called him. He picks up. He's like, "Hello." I was like, "Hey, man, I just saw these texts. I'm sorry I wasn't ignoring them. I just didn't realize that my phone was going off. I I was paid that $100 bill from a bar this weekend. So if it's fake, then I surely don't know about it. But I'm in my car right now driving. I'm getting money out of the ATM. I'll bring it to you. He's like, meet me back in your parking lot in 10 minutes. And I was like, absolutely, I'm on the way. I get $100 out, blaze onto the parking lot. I park in a space, and out of nowhere, like this, car starts snaking through towards me, and I'm like, it's got to be him. And he pulls up next to me, jumps out, and I get out, And he's not all that intimidating looking, he's just like a average white dude, he's sunglasses on or something. He's not like built or anything, bigger than me, but most people are. So I was like, dude, I'm so sorry. Look, man, I don't know if that's count. He like kind of tosses the 100 at me, and he's like, yeah, man, I stopped here to get cigarettes at the gas station after after I picked it up, and the cashier told me he wouldn't take it because it was counterfeit. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah. And I was like, what did he mark it with one of the pens or something? Like, how did he know it was counterfeit? And he's like, I don't know. He just held it up. He said, no, I'm not taking this as counterfeit. And I was like, okay. Oh, I was like, man, that sucks because I got paid this from a gig this weekend. I'm all trying to like, man, I guess I got screwed. Oh. And he's like, I don't know, man, but here you go. And I give him the money. He gets in his car, leaves. It's our first introduction to each other, right? So then I'm looking at this 100. I'm like, what the is this counterfeit? How do I even know? How can I even tell? Either way, I don't want to be out of $100. Now, the first idea that pops into my mind is this. I'm parked in front of my store, my Starbucks. I'm the manager. I could take this 100 in and just put it in with the register and take 520s out. And then, oops, if it's counterfeit, I guess Starbucks got a fake 100. But, my morals and honesty wouldn't let me do that because I didn't want to rip off my own store or rip off anybody, just because I might have gotten ripped off. So my next plan was this. I didn't want to deposit it at the bank with a teller because if it was counterfeit, they'd know right away. I deposited it at an ATM, like where you can, do deposit at the ATM, and just I put it in, it took it in, it scanned it, held my breath, it came back, it said, confirm $100 deposit. And I was like, yes, confirm. And everything went cool. I kept the receipt and I waited. And I made sure I did not count on having that $100 in my account because I didn't know if it comes back counterfeit, will they know that was my 100 that I put in the machine? Does the cash get marked in some way or arranged where they would know, or would it just be lost in the shuffle? I had no idea. Turns out it was not counterfeit. It was a real bill. I got it all in full. And I have to say, I feel like both that clerk at the gas station and this weed dealer, maybe they could have researched a little bit more before they both jumped the gun on this counterfeit thing. It's one thing to know you're on the lookout if you're a shopkeeper of some kind, especially, but don't just have a pen or something. Those pens work. Don't just hold it up like you're fucking trying to see which way the wind's blowing and say, it's to the west, this is counterfeit. So anyway, it all worked out. There was no counterfeit money involved. And now I knew my drug dealer, which was cool, I guess. And, I continued to buy from him for a while. But then he got arrested. Not for selling weed, but for something else very weird. And that's another story. So anyway, counterfeit money is out there, folks. But as long as you don't pass it through your drug dealer, I think you're going to be all right. All right, and there you go. Sometimes that funny money comes around. Fortunately, wasn't this time for me. Working at Starbucks, though, for as many years as I did, we did get not quite a few, but more than you would expect counterfeit bills to come through. There's always something kind of different that people do that you become aware of after a while, because Starbucks was really good about communicating. If somebody in the area had got a fake bill, it would immediately be sent out to all the stores in the area to look out, make sure you check all the bills. And if they had a description of the people that, if they remembered, they could put that out. But we had things where people somehow were taking ones and fives and somehow, I guess, stripping, I don't know how, like bleaching it out or something, and then printing like a 50 or 100 on top of it, so it looked just like a 50 or a 100. It felt like it because it's on money paper, and if you marked it with the pen, it showed it as a real bill because it was, just wasn't for that denomination. That was one thing that happened, that we found out, and then we just got some straight crazy fakes that I kind of questioned the intelligence of my staff members that took them. Where I was like, did you really think this was real? I know the shopkeeper jumped to it. I just talked about that, jumping to conclusions, but these were like almost like made of plastic or something. It's stupid. Anyway, yeah, so that stuff is out there and real, but I haven't yet to be personally affected by it. So that's good. So anyway, thanks again for listening this week, guys. I invite you to check out everything that I do over at johnwayneisdead.com. That's going to have all the shows that I play in my band, John Wayne is Dead, as well as the readings I have coming up, and lots of cool videos that I do for the books, and links to all the books. If you have read one of my books lately, particularly my new one, Death Pacts and Left-Hand Paths, maybe throw a review on the old Amazons for Uncle Johnny. That really actually helps a lot, way more than you realize. You don't have to write a long review. It could be one sentence. It could be a couple words. Just select the star rating and do it. It would help me out. And it also helps out the rest of your authors. So whoever you're reading, you should definitely take some time to review their work. Speaking of reviewing work, I kind of want to incorporate, new releases, particularly in the genre fiction that I'm kind of related to. A very cool anthology came out this week called Deadbait 4. It is edited by Cameron Pierce, who is a brilliant, amazing writer and editor. And it's got a lot of my friends, a lot of bizarros in it, a lot of people that, if you read this stuff, you're going to know them. Particularly shouts out to CV Hunt of Grindhouse. She's got an awesome story in there. And I think it's just on Kindle right now. So if you got a Kindle, order it. It's cheap, and it's got a lot of fucking stories in it, and they're all killer. So check that out, Deadbait 4. That's my recommendation for this week. Aside from that, guys, tell your friends all about the show. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes if you haven't. You can go to the John Wayne is Dead YouTube page, all one word together, no spaces. And I put it up, the show on YouTube, so if you want to listen that way. And just keep it up. Check out the Mockingbird Network, which I'm happy to be on here in Houston, and all their other shows. And yeah. So anyway, thanks you guys for listening. Please pick up one of my books, at johnwayneisdead.com, Death Pacts and Left-Hand Paths, John Wayne Lied to You, The Porn Star Retirement Plan, Charge Land, Ant Poster. Yes, we can do it. Yes, so anyway, it's starting to rain harder now outside, and I feel dark and evil. So I think I'm going to go listen to sad music and laugh myself silly.
Mockingbird Network.